So do you know when you're giving that look 3,000 and he says, oh, I'm getting close? Does anyone else ever hear the Mortal Kombat voice in their head?
Finish him!
So, you know who else is finished? Woke gaming companies, as they are currently panicking that Elon Musk has made it very clear, announcing that he wants to enter into the gaming industry and begin making video games under his own studio. Watch to the end of the video to fully understand the implications of this and how this will change gaming and media forever. Today's video comes from Hypnotic. His channel will be linked in the description, so you can go check him out and support him. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
So it wouldn't be another day that ends in Y if Elon Musk wasn't making people melt down. You know, people look at Elon Musk as this just evil bad guy that took what was once their echo chamber of Twitter and turned it into a fairly open free speech platform, sort of, for the most part. Obviously, X still has its issues that we talk about all the time, but it's a hell of a lot better than it ever was prior. Now, ultimately, Elon Musk has now made them melt down again because he started talking about video games. And Elon Musk has showcased himself playing video games before, especially Diablo 4. I don't know how much of a gamer he actually is, but considering how much of a troll he is, I gotta imagine he probably is a big-time gamer. But yes, Elon Musk is making them melt down, all because he is talking about why DEI and the woke mind virus kills the art of video games.
Everything woke turns to shit.
Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, anytime Elon Musk decides to want to speak, the world is going to watch and they're going to melt down half of the time. And that's just how it goes when someone like Elon Musk eventually speaks on a subject like this. And you're going to have people from all sides trying to chime in, and that's perfectly fine. That's the entire point of having an open discussion like on the platform X. You have a discussion like that so that people could get their opinions out there and let the world decide which way they want to swing. So let's get into this article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So it says Elon Musk recently explained why he believes that the DEI agenda and the woke mind virus kills the art of video games. During a town hall, Musk was asked, with recent flops like Concord and Dustborn, games are prioritizing pronouns and things like that and stuff instead of actual gameplay. So I was wondering, have you ever thought about making your own game studio and making an impact on the industry? After describing the inclusion of pronouns as annoying, Musk answered, you know, if there is one actual thing that would be a fun thing to do, it would be to start a gaming studio, because I do actually intrinsically love video games. And I think if you apply sort of AI to video games, you could really make incredible video games. Now, that worries me a little bit, the whole AI thing, because again, man, AI, even though it is rapidly progressing and it is evolving, I don't want AI making video games. You know what I mean? I want there to be creativity. I want there to be a passion from a human being making video games, because that's when you truly hit it, right? Like, that's when you really hit it out the park and you come out with games that have been legendary. You know what I mean? If you look back at history, you'll realize that a lot of the biggest names in games are by far made by passionate developers, a passionate team that no matter what, didn't matter how long it took, it didn't matter how many times they had to delay it. I'm looking at you, old school Blizzard. It didn't matter. They would delay it and they would work on it, and they would make sure that that shit was top tier when it came out and as little bugs as humanly possible, especially before the days of the internet and online gaming. So you have those games made by those passionate people. I don't necessarily want AI to take over. You can have AI help, but I don't want AI to take over and make the video games completely, because then you're losing that human element, which will make the story so amazing if you just catch it right, which unfortunately we just struggle to do that these days because of certain aspects. He then explained why DEI and the woke mind virus kills art. Just generally for content, the problem with sort of the DEI and woke mind virus is that it kills the art. When you can see something that is forcibly imposed on a story and is discordant, it destroys the art. And now it's hard to enjoy the story. It kicks you out of the story because you could just feel like you're being lectured, he added. Now, the second part I agree with. The first part I find ironic because, again, he mentions AI in game development and then talks about DEI and woke mind virus killing art in the second paragraph. I feel like both of them would kill art. You know what I mean? It just depends on who is utilizing the AI, I suppose. But just because you have someone that isn't woke using the AI doesn't mean that the art's not going to be killed, because it might look like a generic AI imagery. The problem with AI right now is that for the most part, you can still catch it. You can still see that somebody used AI to make this. There's some signs there. You know what I mean? But yes, it does kill art. DEI and woke mind virus stuff does kill art, but AI, I feel like, kills art from a human element as well. The second part I fully agree with, okay? The second part in terms of kicking you out the story because you could just feel like being lectured. I'm telling you right now, man, if the leaks are true about Dragon Age the Veilguard and the Kunari, one of the Kunari main characters, if she decides to say that she's non-binary in the game, which apparently according to the leaks, that's going to happen. She introduces herself as non-binary. If that's the case, that's the kind of shit that takes you out of the element, right? That's the kind of stuff that makes you go from, wow, I'm playing this awesome fantasy world to, did I just walk into California? You know what I mean? Like, you just completely get taken out of the experience and it ruins it for you. So that I agree with. That second part I absolutely agree with. In a post to X, Much shared his comments and declared DEI kills art, which we already know because this DEI kills art, he loves posting this because it goes massively viral on X every time he does it. Musk comment echo what J.R.R. Tolkien said in his On Fairy Stories essay. He noted that a story maker is proven a successful sub-creator when he makes a secondary world which your mind can enter inside it when he relates as true it according to the laws of that world. You therefore believe it while you are, as it were, inside. However, he added the moment disbelief arises, the spell is broken, the magic, or rather the art has failed, you are then out in the primary world again, looking at the little abortive secondary world from the outside. Now, this is, oh God, J.R.R. Tolkien just has a way of saying things, and it is incredible. And that's why I laugh every time these writers think that they can write the book that Tolkien never wrote when they clearly can't. They don't have the skill, they don't have the capacity, they don't have the intelligence to do it. It's very obvious. But J.R.R. Tolkien is on the money with this statement here because it is so true. You go to these fake worlds, right? You go, you play games to escape. Everybody knows that, right? You play games to escape, just like you might read a book to escape. You might read manga to escape. You might whatever, right? You'll do all this stuff to escape from reality, even if it's for a little bit, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, some of you 6 hours, whatever. You do it to escape. But at the end of the day, if in your escape, you all of a sudden get reminded about the real world, not just once, but twice, multiple times, you're out of it.
And the reality is that we are dealing with these very tormented creatures. Misery loves company. And what the goal of modern women in Western society is to do is to torment men, to continually remind them that they are not free. Okay? Women operate as agents of the state, and men are currently prisoners of the state. So women are given special privileges while men are given special punishments. We are harassed and we are punished for simply existing. Because you have to remember that the state does not like us. The state would rather that we don't. The state wants to have total control of us. The value of a man is simply to be a worker ant from the very moment he is born to the very moment that he leaves this world. His value is nothing more than what he is able to produce. And even then, he is not valued for that. He is detested. Because you have to understand, the state does not like you. The state absolutely hates you as a man. Women operate as agents of the state, but the term that actually would apply in this situation is useful idiot. The state does not care about anyone except for itself. The state is just composed of a group of people in positions of power that leverage that power to enrich themselves while bringing everyone else into a state of poverty and control. This is how the state operates. The state has its own agenda, and the state does not have a soul. It is not a human being. It is a collective group of individuals who wish to rule over you and have all the toys for themselves. Much of the modern day state is controlled and orchestrated by the baby boomers. They are the same generation who started saying, fight the man, and then they became the man. They are a collective group of narcissists. And as soon as you try to speak out on their behavior, they will just band together and say that, it's not true. They'll gaslight you and they'll do what they've always done, which is try to silence you. This is the reason why, if for even a moment, I have a person who steps forward, a boomer who steps forward and says, my generation is responsible for all of this, we really messed up, they immediately try to silence him. If anyone speaks out on the boomers, they immediately try to silence them. If a boomer speaks out on the boomers, they immediately try to silence them. This is a very corrupt group of people. Do you know who are just like the boomers? They are the boomers reincarnate, Gen Z. Gen Z wants to silence you. This is one of the reasons why I've said that I don't think I can ever like them as a generation, among other things. They are not a good group of people. And, many of you will sit there and pity them right now. But the truth of the matter is that society is going to turn far against them in the coming future. That you haven't seen anything yet. I'm telling you right now, these are the glory days of Gen Z. Them just pestering society, being thrown out of the workforce. 6 out of 10 companies have already fired their Gen Z workers that they've hired this year in 2024. You guys are just seeing the tip of the iceberg. I told you over the course of the next 10 years, the Gen Zers that are still around, because many won't be here, are going to be entering into their full-blown hip. They're going to be in their full-blown hippie era. All right. Very shortly, you're going to see the Gen Zers. They're beginning to enter into their hippie era right now. Because they are hippies. They are modern day hippies. But right now, they at least still come across as somewhat presentable. I know many of you are like, what are you talking about? A lot of them are not even presentable compared to who they are going to be. All right. They're going to enter into their full-blown nasty hippie phase. All right. Our era. Let's just call it, won't be a phase. It'll be an era where they'll be dirty. Okay. I know you're like angry. They're kind of already there. They'll be dirtier. Okay. They're going to be stealing everywhere. Angry. They're already stealing. They're going to be stealing everywhere. Like you haven't seen anything yet. Right now, they're just swiping packages off porches. All right. Eventually, they'll be entering homes. Okay. Yes, I know you'll be waiting for them, but trust me, it's stressful. It's stressful always having to be on guard. All right. They're going to be stealing and squatting everywhere because, Gen X is not being realistic. Gen X has created this perception like their stupid kids are going to be able to live in their homes forever. And Gen X is not realistic. Things happen. You will not be able to take care of your crap kids forever. Okay? Your crappy kids that are tearing down society. Yes, I know the boomers are the majority are responsible for this by far. But your crap kids are running around and they are making the world a worse place. And hear me when I tell you, you will not be able to take care of these bad muffins forever. They're a bunch of scumbags. And they'll eventually have to find a way to take care of themselves. Because most of them are still living at home with mommy and daddy. And the idiots that are saying, oh, well, yes, the older Gen Zers are horrible because the 27-year-olds are the worst of Gen Z. The oldest of Gen Z are the absolute worst. Oh, but the younger ones, they'll redeem the generation. Are you an idiot? The younger, it usually gets worse as they get younger. All right, that's how generations work. It's not going to work. It's going to be different this time. You're a simp. You're right. You are hopped up on copium. All right, trying to cope and trying to tell everyone not to think about it and not to talk about it. Gen Z are a group of very, very bad muffins. They are going to be creating a lot of havoc in society. Many of them will be heading off to prison. When they go to prison, they'll be chilling in prison. They'll eat, sleep, fart, use drugs, get tatted up, play games, get drunk, and then do it all again the next day. They'll hang out with their criminal friends and learn how to commit crimes even better. All right? This is really, all right, listen, they're going to go in, hang out with Julio, and Julio is going to tell them how to, survey a store properly or survey a neighborhood properly so that you don't get caught walking around like you're a maintenance man or, putting on, like, see, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to give you guys, I don't even want to talk about how they'll do it. Putting on like a DoorDash vest. Oh, I work for DoorDash. I work for Uber Eats. Yeah, here's the app right here. Yeah, I'm just making a delivery. All kinds of BS. Like these people will go as far as renting a truck and making it look like they're FedEx. Okay? And then they're using the truck to steal to rob the house. Because if a cop pulls by and they see they'll rob a house in plain daylight. Guys, a lot of you don't realize one of the best time to rob a neighborhood is not during the middle of the night. People are usually home during the middle of the night. Even though people are asleep, people are home. The police know that those are the times when criminals are out. So they're going to be surveying those neighborhoods more at night than during the day. So one of the best times to rob a house is during the day. When everyone is out and about. because no one's going to pay attention to a FedEx truck or a UPS truck that pulls up into a driveway and it looks like they're delivering packages when they're really not. They're robbing that house. They're robbing that house. You would be amazed the lengths that these criminals will go to get the information necessary to plan it out. They'll find out who lives there, what times they go to work, and what times they leave. What do they do for a living? All of this information. Who are their neighbors? They will observe the neighbors. Listen to me. If these people would just put the same kinds of effort into making something of themselves that they put into victimizing others, all right, and committing crimes, they would be wealthy. But this is just the kinds of people that they are and the kinds of work that they choose to do. I call it work because they have to actually put work in. It's an absolute disgrace. If you would just take the same amount of planning and effort and use it to do something legitimate, you would do a lot better than stealing from others, but they don't care. So these good-for-nothing muffins are going to go into prison. They're going to hang out with Julio. Julio is going to teach them how to commit better crimes. And you have to remember that Gen Z, the Zoomers are just like the Boomers. A hole is a hole, Boomers. A hole is a hole, Zoomers. So they go to prison. They're gonna have a lot of fun there. They're gonna be playing with themselves and playing with others. Okay. It's gonna be it's gonna be a nasty place up in there. It's gonna be a brothel up in there, like whatever you like. You have to remember this is a whole different generation. Okay? Whole different generation. A hole is a hole. They take right after the boomers because they are the boomers in reincarnate. Bunch of nasty little muffins. Bunch of nasty little muffins that should never have made it out of the oven. I tell y'all. It is just, this is one of the reasons why they're panicking. These people love censorship. Who love censorship? The boomers. Who love censorship? The Zoomers. They are one and the same, a bunch of evil, corrupt individuals that mean us no good.
Right? Like, it completely takes you out. You're not going to play as long. You're probably going to log off at that point, right? I swear. Like, if I'm playing Dragon Age and the moment I hear the character say I'm non-binary, I'm logging off. Like, I'm done, all right? Because I'm trying to get involved in the world of Thetas. I'm not trying to get involved in the world of Earth Thetas. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to explore the world that was designed and the world that was created that is different from the world that I am in every single day. And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same exact way. Nobody wants to play a video game to get reminded of the real world. That's the entire opposite point of what video games are for. So at the end of the day, man, this is just more proof that people are catching on. And when somebody as big as Elon Musk is talking about this, thankfully, he's going to bring a lot of eyes and attention to that particular conversation and that entire argument that's happening on our particular side. He may not represent it as well because, again, I don't agree with the AI thing, but ultimately it at least gets the conversation going, which is exactly what the other side doesn't want, right? They don't want conversation. They want echo chambers. They want to be able to say what they want to say, and you would not be allowed to say what you want to say. They want you censored, they want you suppressed, and they want freedom of speech for them, but not for you. And then when they get offended by what you say, they want to be able to cancel you. They want to be able to go after your money. They want to go after you as a person. They want to be able to go after everything that you own and try to ruin you and tear you down. So at the end of the day, Elon Musk talking about this stuff is huge, and I hope it continues for the betterment of the conversation moving forward as we get further and further into this entire nonsense known as the gaming industry.
Now, just like our former and hopefully future president said, everything that woke touches turns to poop. Well, guess what? Any of you know what's been happening with Ubisoft? That's a gaming company. They have lost 80% of their value in just the last 5 years. They went from being a company that was worth somewhere between 11 and $13 billion to now being worth less than 1.5 billion. Okay? They are headed towards oblivion. They've just, Assassin's Creed Shadows. It was supposed to be the first game to take place in Japan, but it's going to star a black samurai in medieval Japan. Like, what kind of insanity are they going on with? Now they've delayed the game, and not only have they delayed the game, they've also canceled early access. So there are people who pay for early access to the game. Oh, no early access for you. It's clear that they're up to something. They don't want anyone to see what they're doing. It would take way too much time and work to remove the Black Samurai from the game, evidently, but they're probably going to do some BS. And if they were to remove him from the game, it would just signal that they never cared about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it was all about profits. So they've basically put themselves into a terrible situation. It's a publicly traded company, and they have cost people who invested in them and believed in them billions of dollars. Like, you have to be crying your eyes out right now if you invested in Ubisoft and you know you will never see a dime of your money back. You would have to be an absolute lunatic. And there are now a lot of people saying in the gaming industry that Elon Musk may actually step up and purchase Ubisoft. Well, there's a bloodbath happening at Ubisoft right now as it continues to get worse. They lost massive amounts of money with Star Wars Outlaws, which was a woke piece of trash, and no one really bought it. They sold like 1 million copies of the game, but don't forget that it cost them tens of millions of dollars, if not roughly about $100 million, to produce this game that only sold 1 million copies. And some of you might go, well, that's still a lot. Guys, after Steam takes its cut, or all the different platforms that it's sold on take their cut, I think it was on the Epic's Game Store, there's not much left. They literally, when you sell these games, like, you spend $100 million on a game, you have to make something like 200 or 300 million just to break even. Okay? So they're not going to break even on that game, it would appear. They are so screwed right now, and they were betting on that game, banking on that game to carry the company's financials. So they are now basically ending up in a position where they don't have money on hand, and it is a frightening situation. Absolutely frightening situation. It's getting even worse, guys. The entire team from Prince of Persia. So many of you guys know about the Prince of Persia games. They go far back, like to the 1980s even, I think, or early 2000s. And, my introduction to Prince of Persia, as far as I can remember, was with the PlayStation 2 games, where you could basically rewind time a bit. Well, it is a bloodbath. That entire team is now gone. The entire development team for Prince of Persia is gone. There is no way they would axe the entire Prince of Persia team if they were not in serious financial strait. So that series is now dead. I am in absolute tears. I just picked up a ton of the games, and I'm waiting for like some sales so I can pick up the rest of them. I am broken. I cannot believe guys, this is it. Like, that's the development studio. That's the crew that makes Prince of Persia. There will be no more Prince of Persia now. I cannot believe this, guys. Like, they are literally reaching for the bottom. They are cooked. And this is something that Asmon Gold said. They are cooked. We have a video from the Yellow Flash. His channel will be linked in the description, so you can go check him out and support him. He actually goes into it further and explains what's going on. I cannot believe this total load of BS.
Well, we've got more Ubisoft news. The axe is coming down on teams, and they got rid of a good one this time. Prince of Persia, the Lost Crown team, reportedly disbanded by Ubisoft. It did not reach sales expectations. A sequel was proposed, but did not get greenlit. And that's sad, because this game is actually pretty good from what I've seen and read, and I've looked at some user reviews. People like this game. I think the main problem with this game is that they tried to charge full price for it. I mean, right now over on Steam, this is a $40 game. I don't know what this game was when it came out, but I heard it was like $60. And this is a Metroidvania game. You're not going to get $60 for this game. I'm sorry. You can't charge that kind of money for a game like this. And I love games like this, but they're not $60, $70 games. They're just not. And the market is not going to pay that much for it. Unless you're like Nintendo. And you could put Metroid Dread out, which I don't even know how well that sold. I had a great time with that game. And if this game ever comes down in price, I'll probably check this game out. I think $30 is an appropriate price for this game. I think I saw it was on sale on Amazon, but it's just not something people are going to drop full price on. Even Asmon Gold reacts. It's disappointing this happened considering the quality of the game, but releasing a Metroidvania With EA not on Steam and way above the market expectation of price, of course it failed. Great example of how publishing strategy can literally kill a game. And he's right. Why isn't this game on Steam? That's dumb. It was on EA's servers. I mean, no one's gonna jump on that then. It was stupid not to put this on Steam. It's on Steam now, and it probably should have launched on Steam. So this game came out August 8th. So this team's done. Disbanded. Now, I don't know if the studio is going to remain the same or if they're going to keep that open, but the people that worked on this game have lost their jobs, and it's unfortunate because, I mean, they made a good product. Look at the reviews, very positive. 1,257 reviews. They're very positive. Recent reviews, 183, all very positive. So a lot of outlets are starting to cover this.
And some of you don't like GOG, evidently, which is Grand Old Games. Some of the older games do not work the greatest, but a lot of them do. You know, like, for example, you can get Cyberpunk on GOG. What GOG is, are Grand Old Games. It's a website that was started by Projekt Red, the people behind The Witcher, and Cyberpunk. And basically, it's similar to Steam, except you can actually own your digital games. You get the launcher for the games, and they cannot take them back from you. You can distribute these games if you want to. So, for example, if I purchase this game, it is my game. This is insane stuff. I can give you a copy of it, and no one can do a damn thing about this. If I want to give it to a friend or a family member, I can do that. Guys, I love this so much. I love it so much. And it just really shows you the actual value of these damn games. They're not worth that much. You have so many games right now that are getting remakes or remasters, and they basically just improve the visuals a little bit. The software mostly does that. And, and then they reship it with maybe some additional content. In most cases, no additional content at all. And then they charge $50 or $60 for a game that was selling for $10 for the last 10 years. They're taking bargain bin games out of the bin, all right? Removing them from platforms like Steam. You can't purchase it anymore. Like Sonic Generations, that's a $10 game. That's a $10 game. That game came out 10 years or more ago. 10 years ago. That's a $10 game. That game is now selling for $45 for the digital version, and then $50 for the remastered version, which has gone woke and is now censored. Sonic can no longer push Amy away from him, or tease or make fun of Amy, or you can't joke about someone's weight anymore because that's being fat phobic, or Sonic, basically pushing Amy or just teasing Amy. That's a sign of toxic masculinity. Not even pushing her, but touching her face. Touching her face is toxic masculinity. And of course, the simps are oh, the game is wonderful, IGN. Oh, it's a breathtaking game. Really? Because didn't you give it a 7 when it first came out? I'm just saying, I have to double check, but that's what IGN usually does. But now this version, this censored version, is the bomb. Oh my gosh. I tell you guys, this is how you get control. This is how you end up with people who are able to control you. So they're panicking. They are panicking like hell, knowing that Elon Musk is you know what? I can just start my own studio, or maybe I might just buy Ubisoft. I would understand why he wouldn't buy it and he would just start his own studio. Guys, if Elon Musk starts his own gaming studio, it's hell on earth. Because what Elon is going to cook is insane. Look at what he's done with Twitter. People are oh, Twitter's lost most of its values. Twitter never really had that value like that. All right? The value of the company was highly inflated. It was just like Ubisoft. It was all BS. All loads of BS. Since Elon Musk has taken over Twitter, Twitter now has live videos. You have people are running entire shows off Twitter. Does it need more cohesion? Absolutely. But you're seeing advancements on Twitter that just never happened before. Twitter is working great. It's actually faster than it was before. He's cut out a lot of the bulk. The piece of garbage woke engineers were it's going to start falling apart. Guys, This guy has gotten optimized it. He fired all those bastards. There were like what 10,000 of them. He fired like 90% of them, and then he fired like another 5% after that. All right, and he's been cleaning house, and now you have a lean, optimized team of engineers. What do you think he would do at a gaming company? All right, if he purchased Ubisoft, he would scrape it. He would basically reduce it to nothing. He would kick out all of those woke activists, and only the people who actually know how to do anything would be left. That'd be a handful of people. If they have a staff of thousands, bro, I'm telling you, it'd be like 100 people, maybe 100 people left, and a lot of those people would be like administrators. He would fire the PR departments, and of course all the woke people, the diversity, equity, inclusion idiots. They'd all be gone, and you would literally just have a handful of people in the company that actually know how to make games, can actually code and make good games. All right. If you are subpar at your job, all right, all of those people would be gone. And the kinds of games that Elon would put out would basically have pretty girls, beautiful guys, and be fun to play. And Elon is wild. Okay. So we would get some real incredible games like The Witcher, like Cyberpunk, without all the woke BS in it. I mean, he would wreak havoc in the gaming industry, and that's why they are scared, because they know what he can do. Elon he played Elden Ring. He has been a long time gamer, and when he talks about AI in games, what he's talking about are the visual effects, not using generative AI so that you have characters in the game that are soulless. No. He's talking about using AI to change the visual. So, for example, let's say you're playing God of War, and now you want to change the visual style to cel shaded. You can do that. That's the power of AI and where we are basically headed. And guys, if you're enjoying the content, check out the Angry Guy Clubhouse. Get top expat and passport bro travel tips, digital nomad guides, passive income strategies, and hard-hitting manosphere content. Free subscribers get access to videos, podcasts, articles, a community chat, plus receive the passive income blueprint and digital nomad blueprint just for subscribing. Paid subscribers unlock exclusive guides like the How to Build an Online Business in 24 Hours ebook, wealth building blueprints, and crypto updates. Join us now. Click the link in the description.
And like I said, this is breaking from Wario64, who's covering this from a YouTuber. This is the
Voilà, maintenant, si la fermeture de l'île...
I don't speak this language, so I have to go by what other people are saying about it, but it looks like this team, I don't know if the studio is completely disbanded or what, but it looks like either way, they've either been laid off or they've been moved to other studios. Similar to like how Japan Studios was absorbed by Team Asobi over with Sony PlayStation, which I didn't know that until recently. I didn't know that the Japan Studios, I'm sorry, that's what they're actually called, got absorbed by Team Asobi. No wonder Astrobot was so damn good.
You see, it's no wonder that they're panicking. You have to understand, guys, these games take years to make. Concord, that woke pile of crap, took almost 10 years to make, and it has cost Sony around $700 million at this point. And they're continuing to lose more and more money from these pieces of crap. Like, for example, Unknown 9. That's another Sony game, guys. That game costs like $100 million to make, and Sony is going to have to eat that cost, okay? And it's just one game after another game that's coming out, and these games are absolute crap. I think it's Dragon Age is coming out. It's gone completely woke, and now NVIDIA's trying to give it away for free, okay? Give it away for free. That's a $70 game. Oh, there are no spiders in the game because we don't want people who are afraid of spiders to freak out. We want it to be more inclusive. They're basically trying to make these games in a way that people no longer will want to play them. So when you have competition from people like Elon Musk that will step in and begin to deliver games that people actually want to play, it completely throws everything off for them. Because these companies can't just change it up overnight. These games and woke projects that they've been developing have been in development for years. So they can't just flip flip a switch and say, okay, we're going to get rid of the woke in games because they've already heavily invested in that. Also, it's a virus. It's parasites. It's like termites. These things, it's once you have these DEI people in your companies and this ideology in there, it's hard to get rid of it because it infects every fiber and every being. What you basically have to cut away every shred of woke. That's what Elon did with Twitter. He kept on cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting until you had something left that was efficient and clean and would get the job done. And he's completely changed Twitter for the better. So if he steps into the gaming industry, these people are going to be running. And they can't compete with him. We're heading towards a gaming crash right now where indie studios will begin to rise up and fill in. Okay, those who don't go woke will basically become the new EA. They'll become the new Ubisoft. They will become the new big players in the gaming industry. And if Nintendo starts to embrace woke culture like they've done with Princess Peach's latest title and the new Zelda game, which I think it's a great game, but I was shocked when you discover that they start using they and them pronouns in the game. They don't say he or she, they say they and them. So you cannot call Princess Zelda in the game a she, you can only refer to her as a they or a them. This is insane stuff, guys, but I've said it already. Nothing lasts forever, and they are going to pay a major price for what they have done. Guys, you're going to see a lot of these developers on the streets begging, crying, condemning gamers. They're already condemning gamers. I have another story for you that I'll talk about shortly in another video, but basically they're now going after individual YouTubers. DC is actually going after a large YouTuber. He's not even a giant YouTuber, but they're going after geeks and gamers and making them a bad guy in their comics. So they want to do, if they cannot directly sue them and silence them, they want to at least make their lives as hard as possible by portraying them as villains in their comic books so that they will be harassed. And if they cannot physically get rid of them, some woketivist will physically get rid of them. Just like we saw what happened to our president recently where, these lunatics have tried to control, halt, delete him. That's exactly what they want for the American public, where the people on the left will just come and get us. All right, and they're basically trying to institute violence against all of us. You have the simps that are now coming after me, saying that I need to show myself. I need to reveal how often I go to the gym. What does my skin even look like? What does my skin look like? How many girls am I cycling through? Yeah, guys, the Sims are absolutely panicking right now because because here's the thing, hell on earth is coming and they are going to be held accountable. It's shocking. The Sims did not even realize that men were going to hold them accountable, and now they're panicking and screeching and hollering. I've been talking about why the Sims are going to be punished for what they've done. And as you guys can see, I got a comment on one of my videos, actually in one of the posts that I made, which says that this was a poll. Simp is another name for traitor. And most people agreed with this. And of course, a simp immediately jumped in and said, you can't be a traitor when it is not on purpose. So basically, if you betrayed men, if you did things that destroyed the lives of men, if you are very much responsible for this and they know who they are trying to argue now that they cannot be held accountable for what they have done because they did not do it on purpose. They were ignorant when they did these things. Guys, do you see the nasty individuals they are? Do you see what they're trying to do? They don't want to be held accountable, and they think that they can use ignorance as a defense. Just to be very clear, I actually looked this up. Can a person accused of committing treason who has technically committed treason use ignorance as a valid argument under U.S. law and most Western laws? The answer is actually quite intriguing. So I want you guys to actually see for yourselves what this actually looks like in the context of U.S. law. Ignorance is generally not considered a valid defense for committing treason. Treason is defined very specifically under Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution, and it involves either levying war against the United States or adhering to their enemies. That's the simp. Giving them aid and comfort. The legal requirement for proving treason are stringent. including the necessity of testimony from two witnesses to the same overt act or a confession in open court. Yeah, guys, there's a lot more than that. And in the era where we have actual physical and photogenic evidence, they're cooked. Ignorance of the law is typically not a defense in criminal cases, including treason. The principle of ignorance juris non excusat. So they have an actual term for this. Ignorance of the law excuses not applies, meaning that individuals are expected to know and understand the law. This principle is consistent across many Western legal systems, so they would still be held accountable not just in the US, but in most Western societies. If someone is accused of treason, their defense would more likely focus on disputing the facts of the case, such as whether their actions truly constituted treason, rather than claiming ignorance of the law. So when I say that these simps are cooked, these simps are cooked. They have done a lot of bad, and those consequences are 100% coming for them. Their days will not be long upon this land, all right? They have betrayed men. They have betrayed masculinity. They have betrayed humanity. These guys, women are going to be shocked when the Sims turn on them and say that I didn't do it. I didn't mean to do it. Women made me do it. That's who the simp is. The simp is a coward. The simp is a liar. The simp is a sleazebag. Many people don't even view them as human anymore. And if you think I'm exaggerating, I mean, here's a comment from one of my subscribers in response to the very poll, saying that, simps right now, they are, they're just another form of trader. And, he basically responds saying that simps are not people. Stop treating simps like people. After what they have done, their days shall not be long upon the land. They are going to face serious consequences for their evil actions, and they are now looking for ways to escape those consequences, and it's just not going to happen for them. They are going to have to face justice, and justice will prevail.
Looks like the story got summarized here on Reset Era. I hate Reset Era, but we have to go with where it comes from. So this person summarized what was going on in that video. It said, I've heard and read it was the biggest game production of my entire life, 3 or 4 times in a single week while getting information from the game's dev, one after the other. I was told was seen as a beacon of hope to create and a safe space for people who were burnt out by B&G E2. The team has been disbanded by Ubisoft. This comes from a reliable French game journalist who's heard from multiple Ubisoft multiplier employees. Here's the summary. Internally, the fate of the game was already decided a few weeks after the release of the game. It was clear in spring that after releasing a few DLCs and cosmetics, it would be the end. A few members of the core team fought to get a sequel greenlit, which did not happen. Then they pushed for 2 expansion packs, hoping that it would work this time, but didn't since Ubisoft needed more hands to help on other projects that had better sales potential, which wasn't the case with Lost Crown, not meeting sales expectations. Another crazy justification that the dev team received from higher-ups was that releasing a sequel for the game would cannibalize long-term sales of the first game. So they think that word of mouth will push this game more and more up the sales charts over time, trying to get some of their sales back. But I don't know. I really don't want to give Ubisoft money, but this just tells me they're still hurting. Things are still going bad at Ubisoft. It seems kind of desperate. You have a win here. But, I mean, you were also very greedy, trying to charge $60, if that's how much it was. If anybody can confirm that in the comments, I would really appreciate it, because I can't look back on that. But from what I read on a previous video, comments were saying that it was released at full price, and that would explain some of the problems that this game had when it came out. You can't charge $60 for a game like this. Not today's market. Not unless you're Nintendo. Nintendo can kind of do whatever they want at this point. I mean, if they released a 2D Mario, and they had Mario Wonder. I bought that at full price, but it's Nintendo. That's what, we've kind of been conditioned with their quality. But they've always made good quality games. I mean, what do they release a lot of games, and what? 2 or 3 of them are awful, if even that. Most of the shit they put out are just complete bangers. That's not the same with Ubisoft. So, I don't know. It sucks for that team. They actually made a good project, or they made a good product. A lot of people call it the GOAT of Metroidvanias, and it's unfortunate that a talented group of people are now either laid off or working on shit that they probably could give 2 shits about. But Ubisoft is not a safe place to work at. That's for sure.
There's also, a game called Dustborn, and this woke developer is going absolutely insane. That's why they don't want Elon to put out, any games to start his own gaming studio, because it's over for them. It's already over. We're already heading into a gaming crash. And if Elon steps foot into the gaming industry, guys, I feel like it's going to go back to the 90s. I feel like we're going back to the 90s where we ended up having games that were coming out rapidly. It's not going to be focusing on the visuals anymore. It's going to be about the actual gameplay. And when they do this, you're going to end up with games that look absolutely great, really beautiful, but it's not about counting every single pixel. The interesting is so many of these games like Forsaken, they come out and they're like, oh my gosh, it's woke, it's for a modern audience, look how cool the game looks. And so you're like, bro, this game gets buggy as hell. And it was made by a bunch of developers who don't even know how to develop games, because they got rid of all the old guys who know how to make games, and they replaced them with woke devists that can't code for crap. Okay? Can't code for crap. And the games look like total crap. So I feel like we're going back to the days. We're going to be heading back to an era where games came out every once, or like a sequel came out every once or 2 years. Like back in the PS2 era, we would get a new GTA like every 2 years, every 3 years, and most. Like a new GTA was coming out. Like the wait from GTA 3 to Vice City was very, very short, and that's what we're going to. It's like a year or two. And Vice City was a massive upgrade over GTA 3. When I say massive, I mean visually, it was insane. Like, I mean, we did not have ray tracing, but that's when we started to really experience what they could do with lighting in games. It was gorgeous. The character models were gorgeous. It looked like they had completely revamped the entire game. The polygon counts were crazier. Like, what the heck? This is a PS2 game? It was literally the difference, the jump from GTA 3 to Vice City it felt like going from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2, at least to me, because it looked so different visually. It was such a massive upgrade visually. It's insane. You can really tell that GTA 3 was closer to a PlayStation 1 era game, while GTA Vice City was just on a whole other level. And I feel like that's what we're going back to. Because, and it's like, these companies are like, oh, well, we have to have the banks. They have to basically meet these quotas and all this other crap. And, these smaller developers, they're developing games in like shoeboxes. Just like the average man could live happily in a shoebox, the average company that makes games, they could develop games out of a shoebox. There was an anime called like Adventure Kid back in the 90s, and it was kind of interesting. Like, you had this kid who learned how to program, not even using a computer, and then he ends up making like this amazing, I don't know if it was like a game or a program. It's like, what the heck? Yeah. Like, this is just, it was like that's the story of developers. Like, there were so many developers, I'm sure, back in the day that could not even afford computers and learn to predominantly program without computers. It sounds crazy, but it's true. They would like maybe get very limited access to a computer, and then the rest of the time it was all just theory, studying how designs work. And we didn't have things like Computer for Dummies back then, or C++ or C# for Dummies. Like, you basically had to like get papers and get books from the library and figure that crap out for yourself. And it was just a cycle of errors and trial and error until you got it. And that's the reason why this is very much a space that men will continue to dominate and thrive in. We actually have a video from Very Dark. I'm going to play this. I'm going to play the video. And in the video, the Dustborn CEO is raging at gamers for calling out his crap game. And I love the work that Very is doing, because I will say this girl is going hard. This girl is going hard. Her channel will be linked in the description so you can go check her out and support her content. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
When Dustborn was first announced and the developers admitted that it was inspired by, quote, political events beginning in 2016, we knew that it was going to be a nightmare for them, but apparently they didn't, because now Dustborn devs are opening up after the brutal launch, saying it caught them completely off guard. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, Dustborn was never going to be a massive game. Let's be honest, this is a title that appealed to a very small group of people, and the devs should have understood that. They should have went into it knowing that, hey, this isn't going to be some smashing commercial success, though they are listening to the vocal minority of gamers on social media, and we know that when you market your games for modern audiences, aka sensitive snowflakes on social media, they really do not show up to buy video games because they do not play video games. So you'd think that they would at least show up to buy this like movie game, this cringe fest of political references, but they didn't even do that. And now, instead of just admitting the fact that they created a title that nobody wanted, and people, yes, were allowed to criticize, they're now crying abuse and hatred and harassment. Now, I want to give a little bit of context because they've already done that. Back in August, around the release, the Dustborn devs have called out the tidal wave of hate and abuse that's engulfed the game, saying those who engage in such behavior will be removed from our community. So, of course, instead of just listening to our feedback and our criticisms, they called us bigots, they called us sexist, they called us racist, they called us homophobes. I mean, they called us every name in the book, and instead of just trying to understand where we were coming from, they said straight up that they were going to ban us, they were going to remove us from the community, and hey, if you are going to tell us you do not want us around, and you are going to tell us do not buy it if you don't like it, people, newsflash, are not gonna buy it, and that is exactly what happened.
You see, this is what I told you about, guys. I told you, actual gamer girls don't like this stuff. They won't buy this stuff. Gamer girls want to cosplay hot gamer babes from these games. So they want to play games where you have attractive looking women that are even prettier than they are, and then they want to try to emulate these characters. So just like the character from Stellar Blade, they want a really beautiful chick like that, and then they want to emulate that character. They want to imagine that they are those characters. It's just like men, where a guy plays a game and you have a character who is a very handsome man, who is a very powerful man, like you play The Witcher, and you now take on the role of The Witcher, and he's a very handsome and powerful man and charismatic man. And now you are playing that role and living that experience. And these game developers, of course, know this. That's the reason why they take these characters, and now you have Peter Parker, who is absolutely ugly. In the latest Spider-Man games, they even went back and changed the character model for Peter Parker and made him even uglier. And now you have a simp, you have a soy boy. So they're putting soy boys in these games. They're replacing the female character models with very ugly characters. I mean, just so ugly that it's hard to even want to play these games for a long period of time. And their ultimate goal, these studios, their ultimate goal is to destroy the gaming industry. They've actually said it. They don't like men. They don't like the gaming industry. They despise gamers. They don't actually like women. They are just pushing an agenda. Because the moment that a woman disagrees with them is the moment that they begin going after her, calling her every disgusting name in the book, wishing, and they can get away with it. They can get away with it because, of course, the average person has to walk on eggshells around women today, except for people on the left, except for people like the Dustborn developer, because he has the privilege where he is an agent of the state. So now he's going after them and saying these things because I've told you, simps are agents of the state and women operate as agents of the state. So if a woman is not operating As an agent of the state, a simp will come back in and he will go after her. And he'll say, oh, you're not doing your job? Well, you're going to be punished for that because it's your job. You're supposed to be destroying masculinity. You're supposed to be pushing this message. You're supposed to be a part of the agenda. Oh, you don't like it? Well, too bad. We're going to come after you. We're going to punish you for it. Okay? Bad, bad girl. Bad, bad girl. That's why the Sims are panicking right now. That's why the Sims are freaking out right now because they had no idea. Guys, the Sims are trying to cut. They're coming after me. They are furious. They are coming after me because I'm shutting down the party. I'm telling y'all, don't go after women. Don't blame women for this. Yeah, of course, the individuals responsible for what's happened need to be held accountable. Don't blame feminism. Don't attack feminism. The true definition of feminism would be egalitarianism. And some awful individuals, right back to the suffragettes, these people were considered terrorist. There we go. I had to visually think about it. And they were basically thrown in prison, and the Sims were like, when they were demanding the right to vote, and the Sims were like, oh, we can't see them suffer anymore, just give them what they want. All of prohibition was caused by women wanting to shut down bars, not because men were getting drunk, but because it was a male space, a predominantly occupied, male-dominated space, and they wanted the bars shut down, so they wanted alcohol banned so men would no longer be able to go to the bars and associate with one another, because it was always about controlling men and silencing men. How foolish do you have to be to not comprehend that these people were doing this stuff long before people like Rockefeller were even born? Everyone's trying to blame conspiracies. Oh, this conspiracy, that conspiracy. Many of these things, it's been happening for hundreds of years, angry. You see, that's the Sims right there. They don't want to hold the people who are responsible for this accountable. Stop going after the boogeyman, all right? Stop saying that, it's the powers that be. Guys, it's the baby boomers. Who are the people still alive? The baby boomers. Their bastard offspring. People that are down with that philosophy. P. Diddy. You've got to be kidding me. Jay-Z, Beyonce. You literally have them in their music saying things like Illuminati and throwing up signs. Come on. You don't have to be a genius to figure it out, to realize what's happening around us and who are the people responsible for this. A lot of these people are the people that we went to school with. George Carlin said this. He said that nothing's going to really change when it comes to Congress, because we went to school with these people. These are the same people that went to the same schools as us, graduated from the same universities as we did. Okay? These are people around us. The boomers are a corrupt group of people. The boomers are the most corrupt generation, and the Zoomers, Gen Z, are the most corrupted generation. And they're all pushing for censorship because the truth is that they just want to get theirs and control and silence everyone else that is calling out what they're doing. These people have always had an agenda. I talked about the boomers. I say a whole is a whole boomers. And what are the Zoomers? A whole is a whole Zoomers. Miserable people.
As you can see over on SteamDB, it's got 5 people in game right now, 7 in the past 24 hours, and the all-time peak 2 months ago at release was 83. Now, I did give this title a try, and it was one of the worst games that I have ever played. It was buggy, it was broken, the dialogue was extremely cringy. You had all of these current day political references that were just jam-packed in there. It was not a good game by any stretch of the means. And instead of, again, just simply saying, hey, we created a game that people didn't want, of course, they're saying it caught them completely off guard when months leading up to launch, gamers across the world were saying this is going to be a financial disaster for them. And they used taxpayer money for this from the Norwegian Institute. So you'd think that they would at least have had some sort of targeted audience for this besides the modern audience, you know, a group of people who actually plays games perhaps, but it says Ragnar is one of the leading figures in the Norwegian game industry. Yeah, for all of the 5 people that are there. I'm sorry, I don't hear about Norwegian game developers a lot, and if he is the leading figure, they are screwed. He has worked in game development for nearly 30 years and loves his job. It is his greatest passion. Congratulations. What does he want, a sticker? I'm passionate about YouTube and I don't go around saying, I love video games and I'm a YouTuber. I'm a leading figure. I don't do that. That's really weird. And I don't ask journos to write articles patting me on the back. However, the launch of Dustborn, the newest game from Red Thread Games, has forced him to seriously reconsider whether game development is something worth pursuing. If one failed video game is the reason why he wants to quit game development, he really wasn't that passionate in the first place. Maybe that's a hot take, and I'm sure that he has received a lot of harsh backlash over the past couple of months. But that's the great thing about social media is you can turn it off. You can turn off your phone. You can turn off your computer. You can log out of social media. You don't have to doom scroll all day just because you released a game and you know that content creators online are talking about it. When you create a product, people are allowed to criticize it. And this game was heavily criticized, sure, but you can shut off social media and go back to creating games. Maybe if you focused on doing that instead of shoving political references from the 2016 election that you so very much hated, maybe you would have created a better product. Is it worth living this way when you have a family? I mean, okay, you're getting pretty dramatic here. That is one of the questions he asked himself. The game has received enormous international attention, mostly of the negative kind. They're complaining about receiving international attention when they specifically went into interviews leading up to release with like PC Gamer, and you'd think that maybe they would understand that they were going to have their game be pushed to a wider international audience, but instead that's not really being understood here. The CEO said it caught us completely off guard. We were very surprised by the extreme reaction to the launch and we had no plan how to handle it. You can easily ignore what's said on forums or X. Emails feels a little closer to home, but receiving text messages where someone wishes you dead is unsettling. I have not seen a single post on social media that leaked his phone number, that boasted about messaging his phone number or any of the developers' phone numbers. And I am not sitting here saying that 100% without a shadow of a doubt did not happen, because there are crazy individuals on social media who will push the boundaries. But when you are making a claim this serious, you need to show some sort of proof. Block out his phone number, show the text messages, at least 1 or 2 screenshots, and I would be sitting here defending him tooth and nail. But that is not what these people do. Time and time again, they say they receive abuse, hatred, harassment. They receive death threats. Their phone numbers are leaked. They are sent phone texts or calls, and they never show any sort of proof. So it is extremely hard to believe these people, because they love to play the victim, and it is extremely easy to play the victim on social media. All you have to do is saying, I'm receiving backlash, hatred, and harassment, and somebody will run to your defense because they want to at least blindly support you. But I cannot sit here again and blindly defend him. I think it's outrageous. There's no way I can get this removed, and it's a very damaging lie. I just have to ignore it and hope people are smart enough to understand that it's not true. And apparently there is a video online that claims that he has said he wants to drown babies. I have not seen this either. That is a disgusting thing to say about somebody unless there is some sort of screenshot. And I also could not find any sort of YouTube video claiming this. Maybe it's been removed. Maybe it never existed in the first place. Again, there's no clickable links here that have any sort of screenshots, and it's hard to sit here and defend somebody who, again, has said, if you don't like our game, don't buy it. You're all disgusting human beings for not supporting our project financially. I'm not going to sit here and say that he for certain has received these messages. And on social media, many are drawing parallels between Red Thread Games' Dustborn and Firewalk Studios' shooter Concord. Yes, what is the problem with that? I understand that we are talking about an indie team versus a AAA team. We're talking about a game that has a billion-dollar company behind it, and then Red Threads, which is an indie team. But at the same time, we were comparing the fact that these are games that are marketed to the same audience, and they were both failures of epic proportions. He also went on to say their games aren't for everyone yet again. And if your games are not for everyone, you can't expect when the majority of gamers do not want to buy your product. It's been really tough to deal with this. We're used to people not liking our games, but we appreciate well-argued reviews, even if they're negative. The difference here is that a massive amount of negative feedback from people who have never played the game and never will, they just jump on the bandwagon of making those videos. So of course, content creators like myself are apparently, quote, the people that jump on the bandwagon of making those videos when all I wanted to do was bring attention to this game so you guys knew what to expect. And then ultimately, you could purchase it if you wanted, or you could not purchase it if you did not want it. It's like the SBI detected list, or now it's known as the DEI detected list. All of those games are there, and Cabrutus is not telling you to boycott them. You can boycott them if you want, and it is a comprehensive list of titles to ignore, but you could also go down that list and purchase every single game. At the end of the day, it's basically free promotion. So instead of coming out and trying to say, hey, listen, we understand there are a lot of people who didn't like this game, fair enough, but there were some people who pushed the limits, and showing proof and evidence and screenshots, they just decided to take to this interview and attack gamers, attack YouTubers, and they're claiming it caught them completely off guard that they received brutal feedback, but it really didn't surprise anyone else because months leading up to release, we were all saying that this was going to be a fail.
You see, guys, these companies don't have infinite amounts of money, and they can only push on the cost to consumers as much, for a limited amount of time. Sony right now is falling apart. They're pushing on the cost to consumers for all of the woke crap that they've been doing. But the more that they do this, the worse that it's going to get for them, and their business can crumble down very rapidly. Because right now, guys, there's competition coming. They may feel like they're the big dogs right now, but guys, over the next 5 years, I predict, over the next 5 to 6 years, okay, you're going to see a massive transformation happening in the gaming industry. And, that's in addition to the likelihood of a major market crash, economic crash, and this shift is going to see a lot of indie studios rising up as major publishers like EA, Ubisoft, and so many others, even Take-Two, are caught off guard as their business models begin to downright collapse, because people are like, we're not going to pay for this woke garbage. We'll go back to old games on GOG. But I'm hopeful that GOG does not change their business model, because if they do, I'll just abandon it, and they know it. So that's one of the best things right there. And many of these old games, no one's going in to mess with them. They can try, but it doesn't matter. But I have my old games. I have the installers, and that's the thing. Because we have the installers, we can basically trade them between one another like trading cards. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying you should, but it's just a whole different world. I would love to see in Elden Ring on GOG, and hopefully eventually it will be there. And if that's where the market goes, because right now you will own nothing and be happy. Okay, well, if this is what people are saying. If buying is not owning, then pirating is not stealing. And these companies are creating their own misery. So over the next several years, I truly believe, guys, especially with, like I said, these SoC systems on a chip that are optimized to now run Windows. They're basically, they've been re-engineered to support x86. So they're still ARM-based chips, but they can now run x86 programs. This is crazy, guys, because you're going to have mobile games running alongside full console experiences. You have to remember that console experiences, they're all running on x86 chips, except for the Nintendo Switch, which is running on an ARM-based chip. So you're going to see things like the Nintendo Switch Lite, because even, these new chips like the Snapdragon Gen 2, Snapdragon X, these chips that can now run Windows and Windows games, that basically means that, you know, you can have a Switch Lite. And you can have something like a Switch Lite. It's cheaper to make, cheaper to manufacture, and you have something like a Switch Lite that can play, you know, Elden Ring, that can play all of these incredible games, and you can access your Steam library. You can do all of these things, and you have a tiny device like the Nintendo Switch Lite, not the normal Nintendo Switch, the Nintendo Switch Lite. This is a massive revolution, guys, massive revolution, and you have all of this power. You know, this type of chipset that supports, by the way, DLSS. All right. So this is deep learning super sampling resolution, and it's basically going to offer insane performance boost, and you have this in your pocket, and it's going to make the cost so much lower. So Sony's out there trying to shill this garbage, and you have something like the Nintendo Switch Lite in your pocket that you can also dock and play, and then and you can play it on a television. You think people are going to be doing this and sticking with Sony? Or if you want something even more powerful, you can have an actual dedicated console. But when you have a dedicated console, these things are going to be crazy powerful, way more powerful than the PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 6, whatever the hell that they put out. And it's still technically a PC, so you can mod it out, you can do whatever, you can apply mods just like the Steam Deck. You can do all of these things, and you can buy them from all of these different companies. And you can play your game library on them. So I have my entire GOG catalog of games. I want to play my GOG games on it, the games I've purchased from Good Old Games. I can play them on there. I can play them just fine. And these companies it's increasingly getting better they've gotten a lot better at optimizing their hardware so that you can deal with compatibility issues. You know, it's a different world now. And of course, the notion of being able to have games where you can like swap out the music, like back in the old days with the Xbox 360, you could basically swap out the music in games. So I used to like change the radio, like the music that would play on the radio station in GTA 5, if I recall, and I would just swap out the music, and I could have my own music playing in the game. Like I could recent music. Now they don't do that anymore. You have to buy music packs, but we could be headed very much back to a reality where, you know, you can do things like that again. And while they don't want you to own anything, you know, again, there are companies like GOG, and there will be other companies, there likely are some now, where you can still buy you can still buy music that is not DRM based, and you actually own the MP3. You physically own the MP3, and you can download it, you can make copies of it, you can redistribute it, not legally, but you can. And you can and you can basically have the MP3s play in your games. And that's really, I feel like, where we are headed. Because these are things that you can do back in the late 90s, early 2000s, or early 2006. I mean, even in the early 2000s, the technology was being laid out. And by the 2006, when the Xbox 360 came around, it was crazy. Guys, I used to like stream so many movies through my Xbox. Like, I used to do all kinds of crazy networking. We all did back then. We were a lot smarter. I'll be honest with you. Like, we were a lot smarter back then than, like, a lot of the Gen Zers today and even the millennials. Like, we used to do, Gen X was total bad ASs back then, man. We used to do crazy stuff. We used to do insane networking back then, running all of these crazy programs and applications, and like optimizing this, like, oh, you gotta go and change port this and this and this, and like, we don't even know what the hell we're doing, but we're making it work. Oh my gosh, man. I tell you guys, the past, guys, even though things are getting hard, it's an opportunity for change, and we're going to continue to see change happening. You know, we're heading into a greater era of change, and that's really it right now. They're panicking because they know that they don't have a lot of time left. People see through their BS, and they're calling it out once and for all. What do you guys think regarding all of this? Do you agree that Elon Musk entering into the gaming industry can send major shockwaves and really change things? He can deliver crazy games rapidly again, kind of like the way it was in the 90s and early 2000s. And it won't just be Elon, it'll be other studios. There's a lot of these larger companies that are just milking people with microtransactions, and the similar will start to die off. Let me know your thoughts and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers. Guys, I wanted to just give you a little bit of a peek into my world so you guys could see what life is like and how I actually create these videos for you. This is Phil Moore's studio. And right now I'm probably going to switch over to Final Cut Pro very soon. But, you know, this is what I use right now to edit my videos. And you can see, like, we do things in here. We have a timeline. And in the timeline, there's a ton of different things, tons of different content. There's the PNG that's going to be there to overlay on all of the files. There's the B-roll footage layer. There's the audio layer. There could be multiple audio layers. There could be multiple B-roll footage layers. You know, there's the hook layer, so the beginning of the video that you guys saw earlier on. And, you know, everything is here. This is how it works. And, you know, even with the audio, I do quite a bit to enhance the audio for you guys. I use a pop filter. I'm using a condenser microphone. I'm using an audio mixer. I'm using software that helps to remove any background noise. And then on top of that, what I'm also doing now is I'm going in and I'm doing further enhancements. So this is AI speech enhancement. And we just check these on and it does things like enhances speech through using AI, wind removal, and it also does denoising. So those are some of the things that we do here. And I just wanted to give you a look. You know, you have things like the stock media, audio, titles, transitions, effects, filters. You know, it's a lot of work. All of this has to be edited. Everything has to be placed correctly. Many of you guys think that it's easy to create content, but it takes a lot of work. So I wanted you guys to have a little bit of empathy when you see these videos on YouTube and you're like, oh, you think that, you know, this is an actual job. It's very, very hard work. This video in of itself, you know, I'll start making a video. I'm like, okay, I'll get this done within half an hour. 2 hours later, okay, we're almost ready. We're almost ready to start processing the video because there's just so much that has to be done to get this out to you. But I wanted to give you guys a peek of my world and what it's like to create videos on YouTube for you guys, because I'm always trying to make better content. Let me know what you guys think. And if you want to see the equipment that I use to create this video, my MacBook, the microphone that I use to record videos for you, the mixer, all of the stuff I talk about, my headphones that I use, you know, everything is linked in the description. You can go and check out the affiliate links if you want to get any of the gear that I'm currently using. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.